Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Public Works and Safety Committee meeting on Monday, May 20th at 5 p.m. Please stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic in which I stand, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call.
Alderman Kubacki.
Here.
Alderman Madden.
Here.
Alderman Schwer. Alderman Schrader.
Here.
Director Krieger.
Here.
Chief Westfall.
Here.
Statement of public notice.
Meeting was noticed on May 17th.
Status of projects. Scott, fill us in.
Sounds good. Hillendale Drive reconstruction project. So the road is closed. The project is going on. The latest report today is most of the clearing and grubbing has taken place. There's going to be a little bit more clearing and grubbing to take place. But first, what that is left up to, We Energies needs to move their poles back. When they move their poles, they're going to do a slight clearing and grubbing, but most of the clearing and grubbing has taken place on the road. They're started with the water main by Sunny Hill and they're moving north. I just checked and they're today past Lakeview Drive. So they're moving pretty good with the water main. They plan this week to do pond excavation this week, which is behind the properties there off of Hillendale, just to the north. And then that land abuts right to our conservation area. And then they'll be working, once they do the pond, they work backwards and just start laying the storm sewer pipe all the way down. All right. Another thing, just as an update, we've had a lot of questions. There is some grading that is happening at Racine, just north of the project there. All that is the contractor has some extra material that we needed to lose. They pulled a land disturbance permit with that homeowner, or the landowner, and they're just filling it in. There's no plans for any development or anything like that. It's just filling in. I know we've had a lot of questions about that, and I just want to make sure that we're all clear. All it is just losing some dirt that we have on the project, okay? The website too is all up to date with the schedule. So anything that you need, it's up to date on the website. If you go under current projects, you can find Hillendale Road reconstruction. Any other questions about that project before we get to the road program?
Touchdown.
Okay, next one, road program for 2024. So the contractor is Payne and Dolan. Contracts all been signed. Our DPW crew is been out there last week and this week. They're replacing culvert pipes as necessary in the one subdivision. The plan is for the contractors to start mobilizing and start doing traffic control on June 3rd of 2024. We're early on the schedule for them. That's great. We hope to have at least a majority of the project done by July 4th over there. And that website is all up to date too. Latest schedules. If I get any latest schedules for either project, I throw them on there right away. But feel free to call DPW or City Hall if you have any questions. Any questions on the road program?
Nope.
Quick question. When is the Hillendale supposed to be completed?
Substantially completed, we like to say like the end of October. But I'm hoping, the big thing is the We Energy poles. We want to get them out of the way they can do grading. But again, last year we had one of the best years with weather for doing work. This year, every 2 days of rain is not helping the cause. Like they had to shut down early today as well. What I'm hoping for is a really long period of dry period so that we can really get going on it. The one good thing about this project is usually in the past we would just do grass seed and that would take a while and sometimes the contractor would come back. But we found for just an additional cost, we're doing the whole project in sod. So that means just watering, and hopefully that will allow the contractor not to come back and reduce a lot of calls for the alderperson in the area.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. That's it. Thank you, Scott. Chief, updates.
Just making sure. Okay, I'm on. We've been busy at the Muskego Police Department. As an example, from 2021 and 2023, we've over doubled the amount of arrests that we've been making for the citizens of Muskego. Year to date, we've handled over 11,000 calls for service, which includes 1,700 traffic stops, 612 rescues, and 403 incident reports. I'd like to focus on the last 4 weeks specifically. 2,500 calls for service, 84 incident reports. Here's the frustrating piece. We've had 4 stolen vehicles. Well, this is very uncommon for Muskego. However, they've been successful. And people have been coming to Muskego specifically, stealing our cars, and then they're being abandoned in the city of Milwaukee. The common thread with all those stolen vehicles is the car is left unlocked and the keys are in the vehicle. But it creates an enormous amount of work and follow-up for the citizens of Muskego, for not only the police department, and an extreme headache for the individuals. With that, we've also had multiple, this past week alone, we've utilized our SWAT team twice. We've had 2 instances of deadly weapons being utilized in domestic type situations in people's homes. And then, of course, if you paid attention to the news, we conducted a residential search warrant for internet crimes against children, which takes an inordinate amount of resources that we're dealing with at the police department. Here's the facts. The city's growing. We're adding subdivisions, we're adding businesses, and our police department needs to maintain pace in order to get to where we need to be. That doesn't include, we also had a suspect this last week that we're just picking up from the hospital today, went through mental health crisis, attempted to start a fire in one of the 8 families on Cornell Circle, which results in 7 counts of recklessly endangering safety, which are significant to our detective bureau. Has been called in every day over the last weekend. They've been called in to handle specific cases with child abuse, internet crimes against children. In fact, that's what they're on overtime right now, trying to handle another child abuse complaint. Ultimately, the trends are not heading in the right direction that I'd like to see. However, we're doing the best we can. We're continuing to try to monitor and try to maintain safest city status with the citizens of Muskego. But it's been a challenge, and we're continuing to work through that. Officer Sartorius has been helping out, even though in his limited capacity recovering from an injury. You should not be playing basketball at the church league anymore. We have 2 individuals. We're down 2 individuals as far as our authorized strength. One of them is going to be starting the police academy in July, which is great. However, the police academy runs from July to December, and field training is until May. So ultimately, that individual won't count as manpower for the police department until about a year from now. So it's of concern. Again, the best thing about working for the police department, if you pay attention to any of our social media, is the support that we get from the people here. And it's the one thing that I always try to sell to new prospective clients or applicants that are going to work for the city of Muskego, is the unbelievable support that we have from you.
Yeah.
Questions?
Thank you, Chief. There is no unfinished business. New business, discussion of trail along Woods Road. Scott?
Yeah, so I think it was about a couple months ago, Alderperson Schrader asked me to put this on the Public Works and Safety Committee. We worked to get a estimated cost, but just to kind of give the background, if you want to go, Wendy, to get the picture, it's kind of good fit. You can go, yeah, you can go to the picture, a couple more up. And that's the picture that's right there in front of you too. So what the request was and what happened was, back as part of when the Woods Road trail was put in, it was stopped. And it was stopped at Windover Drive. And the intention was to have the pedestrians use Plum Creek subdivision. And then there's some existing trails in there, and then get to Providence Way, and then to reach along Janesville Road. That would kind of complete the loop for people to get around, okay? Now, that was always part of the Parks and Open Space Plan. I'm not sure why. I'm sorry I wasn't here at the time. So the request was, could we put a trail, or kind of get a rough estimate of what it costs to put a trail to continue it. So what I did was this. So if you look at the map, to kind of make it easy, is along that part of Woods Road, there is no curb and gutter. So we have ditches. So I looked at where the right-of-way line is on the west side, and I went 1 foot away from the right-of-way, and then I put in our standard 8-foot wide trail. And that would carry all the way through. But at the same time, I didn't include any curb and gutter. I didn't include purchasing of any right-of-way. I did not include any storm sewer. We would have a ditch between the road edge and the trail to do it. Now, this is high level. We're not even looking into a lot of the details yet, but just to kind of give you a cost estimate, we are right around $572,000, and I throw some contingencies. But again, if you start curb and guttering it and you start putting storm sewer in there, that price is going to go up pretty significantly. And we're going to if we start buying right away, it's going to go up. Now, the other thing too is if you drive out there, there's a lot of trees within the right of way that would have to all be gone. And why I say that is because I want people to get an idea that the trees will be cut in order to get this trail in, okay? So if everyone can kind of get an idea and a picture of what that is. The other thing what happens with trails is trails the last couple of years have been interesting. Some people come out and they really are for the trails, and some people that come out and they're really against trails. So it's a very mixed and kind of like polarizing kind of subject here at the city of Muskego. So the other thing that makes it hard too is we haven't done a standalone trail in 2019. What I mean standalone is this is a standalone trail. I'm not redoing Woods Road. I'm just doing a standalone trail. So it's by itself. If we were doing when we did Bay Lane, that trail was part of the road reconstruction project. So that takes the cost of the trail significantly down. It's like we're doing the same kind of project with a road. It's just that it's a trail. The other thing too, right now, and why I think the council has not done a standalone trail is since 2019 is our roads are in pretty bad shape. It's probably one of the number one kind of like questions I get or concerns. And right now I only have about a budget about $750,000 a year annually to fix the roads. That hasn't changed since I've been here for 7 years. So I think it's hard for the council, even for staff, to recommend a standalone trail when I got a lot of roads that really need to be fixed. So that's kind of a good kind of background history for everyone here. My other kind of like, if you have any other questions, I guess, but I kind of like give you a big picture. If you wanted to kind of move it forward, you could recommend that it could be on council for capital for 2025, 2029. All my capital requirements have to be into finance by July 14th of this year. And then what would happen is I would go out for an RFP, do the design first, and then following up with construction. And then we get into the nitty gritty of things. Again, I'm hoping right now that you wouldn't have to do it with a concrete curb and gutter, but you never know. And that could really extend the cost of it. But that was the request for Alderperson Schrader. Is any other details? I try to give you as big over big picture as much as I could. So.
Question.
Yeah.
When was Woods, do you know when Woods Road was resurfaced?
I do
In the
not
past,
know.
or when that may be in the horizon?
Not even in the next 5-year plan.
So it's not,
Nope.
Around-
And even when you
okay.
resurface it, it's not the same. A road reconstruction is like Bay Lane, tear it all up, whatever. A road resurface is not really considered reconstruction, so it still would cost the trail pretty much the same amount of money.
okay. I don't know that I have any other questions right now.
Any other questions from committee?
Well, just a comment, not speaking for the other council members, but I don't think the common council has an appetite for a $500,000 trail, considering our road situation, and also considering that there's another trail access from Janesville Road through Plum Creek down to Wendover, so.
I can only assume why it wasn't done because of cost, and possibly because of the fact that if you really drive it along the north side, there are some trees that really you would lose some major trees along the west side of the road. So that's the only assumptions I can make. Yeah.
Is there a motion to table the request?
Yeah, motion to table the request.
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion's tabled. Next item, request for yellow slow signs on Hardkey Drive. Scott, if you want to.
Yeah. All right, so Harkey Drive, it's 528 feet. It's the road between Martin and Muskego Drive. It's a major road, major entranceway into Idle Isle Park, all right? And what Alderperson Decker asked me to do is to look at possibly putting slow signs out there at the beginning and the end of the thing. So what we have out there, I know we didn't have 25-mile-an-hour speed limit signs out there, but they should be up soon, or they might even already be up. And the request is to put additional yellow slow signs here. I checked with the police in the last 5 years. The city of Muskego Police have reported 0 accidents and 0 speeding tickets on Harkey Drive. And Harkey Drive is controlled by stop signs at both ends. So it's going to be very hard for a person to kind of gun it, because you're going to have to stop rather quickly along there. The other thing too is I don't like too many signs. If there is a lot of speeding, and I saw a lot of speeding, then it's a lot easier for us to indicate by mitigating the speeding by adding additional signs. So if the signs aren't warranted, it's really hard for me to recommend it, because the more signs out there, it just kind of confuses people left and right. The only other signs out there that besides the speed limit signs is the no parking signs on both sides of the road, which makes clear sense since this is the main way into the park. So the request is to put 2 yellow slow signs. And I gave you a picture of it right there. And I gave you a location of the map, and just that it's like approximately 528 feet. And 0 accidents and 0 speeding. And I checked that right before a couple weeks, or about a week ago. So.
Other comments?
Well, I live on Muskego Drive. This,
Excuse me, sir. Could you come up to the microphone and give your name and address, please?
Flip the microphone on top, pull it forward.
You got it? Or?
There we go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hi.
I'm Dennis. I live on Harkey Drive, and they're speeding on that road constantly. Constantly. I know, I mean, should we call the cops every time they're speeding up and down this road? They got other stuff to do. I mean, it's crazy there. Somebody's going to get killed on that road. I don't even see a sign is going to make a difference. We need to put something up there that flashes or something. If I have to take the time and video all these cars that go down here, I will, if that's what's going to change things. I mean, I gave the cops permission, sit in my driveway. I don't care.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
My name is Todd Birch. I live on Harkey Drive as well, right on the corner. So the signs are not up, the speed signs. So I'm glad we're making progress. We originally asked for a temporary speed bump, which I'm understanding, even though we were never followed up on, that got nixed, which we never heard why. They do gun it. So even though you say it's not possible, I'm not arguing with you, but they do. I think they think it's a race from one stop sign to the other. And the traffic of the amount of people walking down for parking at Park Arthur, that's very dangerous. I don't think we want anyone to get hurt. And we certainly have a lot of speeding on there, and the cops aren't sitting there all day long either. And I'm not asking them to, but by the time we call them, if we called them, so I just want to play this out. By the time we call them, how does that solve the solution? Well, I mean, what's the solution? There needs to be a solution. If we call you and then they're gone because they're speeding, that's not slowing it down. I'm not saying we have to add the other signs, but I don't know if just the speed sign's going to work, or if there needs to be a solution. That's all we're asking for, is a solution that's going to slow down the traffic on that road. If the signs work, great. It would be great if it was flashing. That seems to be more effective, or it tells the speed limit of how fast they're going, or if we can do some testing on that road for a while to understand what the speeding is. But we're getting into the heavy season, obviously, down there, and it's going to come up again. And we're raising it as concerned citizens that we just don't want anyone to get hurt. And we certainly don't like all the speeding going up and down the road either. So that's all we're asking for. And if I heard you correctly, our crimes going up and our speeding seemed like it was a heavy number there. So I didn't ask you to compare it to last year, but there is definitely more speeding. So I would just ask for you to consider that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Other comments?
I will tell you, we can easily get you some more data, and Officer Sartorius can get back to that. And do you have a comment?
Sure. And is it okay if I just address everybody? Because that's ultimately what
Absolutely.
I'm talking to. Okay. So Jeff Sartorius, Community Resource Officer for the Police Department. I will run speed studies probably once, if not twice a week from about the end of March through, I would say, the end of May into June. I say that because the weather's getting nicer at that point. You're gonna have more vehicles out on the road. People are less likely to follow speed limits because there's not as much snow or ice on the road. So they feel more comfortable speeding. And I'll conduct those speed studies, and then we look at the numbers, we break it down, and ultimately, I don't want to get too lengthy in my explanation here, but the city's divided up into 3 areas. And at any given point in time, typically have 1 officer working in each area. That being the northwest corner, the northeast corner, and then the whole southern half of the city. So in order to validate putting an officer at any given location and monitor speeds for 15, 20, 30 minutes at a time, we like to take a look at the 85th percentile speeds. And typically, if that's going to be, I'll say 8 to 12 miles per hour over the speed limit or greater, that's usually when we say, okay, yeah, we've got a pretty consistent speeding issue here. It validates expending officer resources to sit there and monitor the problem. So we can definitely run the numbers, and I can put the radar data tracker up, and we'll get those numbers for you because I've done that for folks on Woods Road, and they're going to speak in regards to their issue. And then we'll take a look at the numbers. So just trying to think if there was anything specifically, any other, I guess, I'd just like to address, I appreciate you allowing us to park in your driveway. All of our squad radar units are set up. There's a puck on the front and a puck on the back, which is why we always typically will park in line with the roadway. And it's one of those things where we put an officer there, people turn on the road, they see us, they don't violate the speed limit. And then as soon as we leave, it goes right back to the way it was. Now, I will say the one nice thing about conducting extra patrols is if it's done enough, again, it has to be validated. Sometimes people get used to seeing the vehicle sitting there, the squad car sitting there, and then hopefully they think twice about turning down. Now, with Idle Isle specifically, you're getting a lot of out-of-town residents, and they're probably not coming every single weekend, so that's not going to be as much of a factor as opposed to just the residents that live on Muskego Drive, Harkey, and the surrounding areas. So I hope that was a beneficial explanation, but we can definitely get the numbers for you. I just asked for about 2 to 3 weeks because the battery life itself is about 2 weeks, and I've got other requests elsewhere. So once I get those back, I only have 2 of them. Once I get it back, I'll put it out, collect 2 weeks worth of data, get back to you with the numbers. So, and Alderman Decker and I have already been in conversations about this portion, so I'll communicate with him and then he can relay the information on to you guys. Appreciate what you can do. Awesome.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you.
I'd like to say thank you, Jeff, and thank you for citizens obviously coming out here. Sylvia, thank you again for organizing, and getting them out to this meeting. We really do appreciate it. I will say, and take this the right way, thankfully, speed is the #1 complaint and traffic issues that I get as a police chief. And I say thankfully because other police chiefs have bigger issues to deal with, and I'm not saying they're not bigger issues. It's just to also understand I have lived in a subdivision myself, and if you're going 30 in that subdivision, that's 5 over, it seems like it's very fast, and I'm not being dismissive, and it's inappropriate. However, I will tell you this in public, the mayor's probably going to look the other way of we don't want to be the community that's pulling over at 5 over for obvious reasons. But if we have those, it's like fishing. We have to get the big fish, and we want to try to make sure that we combat systemic problems, both with an engineering solution and a law enforcement solution. Part of it is, I don't want to make excuses. We got to do better. That's the bottom line and where we get back to. We got to do better. We got to document. We got to make sure that our decisions are based in quantitative and qualitative data.
So we're changing the speed limit. We're going to monitor the speed. Is there a motion relative to yellow signs?
I would say let's vote. I'll vote no for now until I can see.
Make a motion to. Right.
Okay, motion to deny.
Second.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. No parking signs are, I'm sorry, yellow signs are denied. Next request for revising no parking signs on Ranch Drive and Earl Drive to include Wednesdays.
Yeah, so Wendy, if you can get to the map, thanks. So this request was by residents through Alderperson Decker. The homes along Earl and Ranch Drive, and you can see the pictures, no parking Saturday and Sunday and holidays, May 1st to October 1st. It's on both of them. It makes sense. You're right near the lake. The request is to revise both these to include Wednesdays. And the reason why is it's the water bugs for the show. The shows there are popular. Again, that was the revision because they are popular. People park there, and then they walk to the show on Wednesdays during the summertime. The one thing I did mention to Alderperson Decker, and I did talk to the head person of Muskego water bugs because they were in. I said his name is I think Sean. That Alderperson Decker should reach out to him. A lot of people who are Muskego water bugs also live on the lake. They're residents of Muskego as well. And it's always good to talk to them. Maybe they can mitigate something before we start making signs and we can do something in between time. I don't know if that happened or not, but that is the request by a couple of residents in the area. So
Okay.
I don't know if anyone's here from Earl Ranch. You can come up and state your name and
Again, say hi.
Hi there, David Bishop. We're on Ranch Drive. I like the word safety right in the very front of in the header. We've lived here, I want to say 9 years, coming up on 10. The water bug show is excellent. It's great for the community to have. But what we are experiencing are cars actually parking on both sides of the street. So it's a elevated ramp up to the hill. When you get to the top of it, you can't see if another car is coming through. So I think it was 2 years ago, maybe it was last year, actually a water truck couldn't make their way up and down the road. We had to go outside, direct traffic, get them to freely, get into the street. So I don't know if there's a way to revise the signs. Sometimes they just put black wrap around it and say no parking, period. That's probably a hassle to come out every week and have to put that up, right? But yeah, I don't know what else to say about it other than from time to time, if we want to, have a graduation party, or if we need to talk with the police to say we may have a car or two on the street on a weekend, we're not able to do that. But people that don't live on the street are able to. Anyway, I'm not sure if there's a simple solution.
Thank you. Any other comments? Yes, ma'am.
Albert.
And Gina Bishop, his wife, but they're also leaving garbage. And that's probably really irritating because my house is right there. I see them leave the garbage. I'm the neighbor that will yell, pick up your garbage, out of my house. As far as parking on both sides, it is very dangerous. Cars cannot get around other cars. And so we've seen that over the last 2 years. It's really been increased with the traffic and the parking. We have a ditch, so it's not like they can even drive onto the grass. Otherwise, their car would end up in a ditch. So they're really halfway already on the road. So, and it's both sides. So that's all I have to say.
All right, thank you. Other comments?
I'm Linda Villuck. I live on the corner of Ranch Drive. And a lot of times people are just so rude. They throw their garbage down. They block in your driveway where they're parking more in so they can squeeze in to park their cars. Well, they do. I don't have a ditch on my side because I'm up on the hill. But so they drive in my grass area and leave ruts and don't care if it just rained, you know. And across the street, they got rocks going all along that road up there. So there's no parking up there. So they allow the people all to park down our road. And also, it's dangerous on both sides. You can barely get a car through the center. Like I say, that like he was saying, he would go down and notice he couldn't go down any further. So then the back up. So the neighbors had to watch it so he wouldn't hit the cars that are parked on both sides of the road. So it's hard for us to even back out with them being on both sides of the road. So I would think there is parking area that they could make in that park because they don't want to park all the way down. They want to get as close as possible. You know, everybody does. So I would like it if they would have more parking closer to that park, to the, you know, going down to Idlewild Park. So to me, it's a waste of area when they aren't using it, and they can use that for parking up at the park across the street.
You mean the green spaces in the park?
Yes, yes.
Well, it's a park.
Or
You know, green spaces.
allow them to park on their grass in that park instead of ours.
Okay. Well, thank you. Any other comments?
My only
Yes,
suggestion.
Alderman Decker.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I did speak to Sean Lincoln, head of the Water Bugs, and though he's not a resident of Muskego, he resides in Wind Lake, he indicated that he didn't have a problem with the existing parking restrictions on Ranch and Earl. However, I kind of want to second the residents' opinion that for them it is a problem, and they would like to see an additional parking restriction on Wednesdays.
Thank you. That street's a relatively narrow street. And I took a ride down there this weekend, and in fact, I looked at all these properties this weekend. Parties are a problem, as you mentioned, when someone has a party, a no parking sign during party time, which is normally on weekends, is a problem. What would you think about only parking on one side of the street? Now, that's going to be tough for the residents because you got to decide which side. But because of the narrowness of that street, that would seem to solve a couple issues. One is emergency traffic getting through if there's parking only on one side of the street. And secondly, if you did have a get-together on a weekend, you'd have a place to park on the street in front of your home.
Why can't they make some more parking area for cars?
Well, a park is a park, and we want to keep the parks open to the public. We don't want all just massive parking lots throughout Muskego, throughout a park.
Well, there's area going down. Sure. Right.
I'm sure that's been considered, but other comments?
Well,
Is there a recommendation? Yes, ma'am.
well, we're not allowed.
Please come up to the microphone. Sorry. Thank you.
Well, we're not allowed to park on the street during July 3rd. So that technically is not a holiday. Even if I have family members, we have to park our cars on our grass. So there are no cars on the street. And regarding my daughter she graduated from college, got a job at Mayo Clinic, so we wanted to have a little get together. This was last year, I think at the end of June. And I always call the police department, let them know that we're going to have cars in the front. Just, it seemed if it was okay to have cars come in so they could come and say hello or say goodbye at that time. And then they wouldn't be staying. We weren't having like a party. We were just having people come in and out. And I got a call back, and I believe it was from the police chief, stating that we couldn't have all those cars on Ranch Drive, that we can't handle all those cars on Ranch Drive. So if I can't have a party, or if I can't have just a little get-together where somebody's coming in to say goodbye to a family member, why is it that we're allowing cars on both sides of our street to park for 3 hours approximately, leaving garbage in that for people who don't live in the area?
Okay, thank you. Well, that's why I'm suggesting no parking on one side of the street. That would aid your parties and make the street a little bit safer, I think. But please come up to the microphone. I realize that. I mean, there's no parking signs all over Creation around Little Muskego, Hartkey Drive, Muskego Drive. I think the closest parking is on Island Drive, which is a hike from the park. So, yeah. Is there a recommendation from the committee?
I like your idea of parking on one side. It would open it up for people that live there. If they're restricted now, at least that would open it up so you could have people over when you want. If it's that, I know it's a narrow road. I've been there myself. It's very narrow, and I can't even imagine what it would be like with people parked on both sides.
Large.
Even on one
Yes, ma'am.
side, it's still dangerous to park up there because there's a hill. You can't see if any cars are coming, and they make ruts in our yard and dump their trash. We just don't want any parking on there.
Well, if we put up no parking signs, that includes
Why can't
the
they
people
put it
that
on
live
ours?
there.
Because they did on everybody else's.
Well, I understand that, but that includes all the people that live there. You have to consider, then now she's got no parking for people to come over ever.
When do you have parties? It's on the weekend. So we got a sign that says no parking on weekends. Well, what difference does it make?
Ask your neighbors. That's who it would matter to.
Well, I mean, well, they can park in I got a big driveway, but.
Well, here's what I would recommend. I would recommend that your aldermen speak with the residents along that road and see if there is any kind of preference for parking on either side of the road. It just seems that adding another day to it doesn't seem to solve the problem. Again, it's a narrow road, and I consider emergency vehicles a priority.
Add on no parking on Wednesdays.
All right, thank you. We appreciate your comments. Is there a recommendation from the committee?
They park in Park Arthur.
Sure.
At Park Arthur, they got a shuttle that takes them to the water show on July 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
Then they have a shuttle that takes them on Wednesday.
No, I don't think anyone has that facility available.
So usually, just FY, July 3rd, huge different animal than the water bog show. And usually that costs money, and usually they get just, and I'm just saying this because I know, because we talk with them. So they usually have people who volunteer, and they also have people who maybe donate, or they have money that's brought in for that. For the regular show, I'm assuming that they don't have the money to provide a shuttle service just for that reason. But July 3rd is a whole different animal. And everything, I think everyone understands that. And that's why they're able to do a little bit more shuttle service for that day. So.
I just want to say, I think we're missing the point about parking for anybody to hire certification or whatever for goodbye cars. I think what I'm trying to make is that if I can't have someone park in front who is related to me to say goodbye, why is it okay for other people to come? You're talking, it doesn't make any sense to me. But that's, I'm not asking for additional parking, and not asking for parking on one side of the road when I'm asking for it. I just want it to make sense.
Well, the residents specifically asked for no parking on weekends, and that was granted through the signs. So you've you've created your own issue. Yeah.
For the alderman. That's not what I'm saying.
So again, let's have a recommendation from the committee.
Okay. I recommend that the aldermen in the district talk to each individual in that area and find out their preference, because it doesn't seem like we've reached a census here. So I would say we'll just defer this until we get more information.
So speak with the residents, come up with a better plan. Again, my recommendation, and strictly my recommendation, is to consider parking only on one side of the street, up to the residents to figure out where that's going to happen. It'll solve a couple of problems. Again, one, a safety problem for vehicles, and secondly, a parking issue for the residents who've got parties or goings on the weekends. Okay.
And on a side note, I asked the chief about your issue with having people over, and he doesn't understand how that happened either. So I'm not sure when it happened. It was last year.
I'm not certain. I'd take a look at it. Normally, I wouldn't be the one calling you on a parking issue unless you complained.
I spoke with the woman at first.
Okay.
You guys are completely accommodating to that.
Okay.
And I thought, I'll call again, just to let them know. And then I spoke with the woman, and they got a call back and said that kind of loud. So,
Okay. I apologize about, some of those issues. And obviously, if you have those requests, usually the way it works is we send a supervisor out to the scene, like Lieutenant Monreal in the back, and he actually looks at the street before we grant parking. But we do grant certain parking permissions.
Are you make a motion?
I did. Yeah.
Motion was made to defer. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to defer that item. Request for no parking signs on South Lane.
Okay, Wendy, if you can get to the map, and then I'll do a little. So, another request that came to the Public Works and Safety to install no parking signs at any time along the north side of South Lane. The parking restrictions would be on one side, the road only, on the one side of the road only, and would be for any time. So just the north side. And currently there is no parking restrictions on South Lane, so you can park at any time there. The main reason for this request is due to the increased parking on South Lane due to Danny Haskell's Pub and Grill. You can see from the picture, they're right there. So people, besides their parking lot, they're coming out there and they're parking on South Lane. The other thing that's not helping, there's a little construction work that's happening at the Danny Haskell's right now. And I know a couple contractors are taking up a couple spots, so that's probably not helping the issue as well. And more people are coming on to South Lane. So again, the request is just for no parking at any time, just on the north side of South Lane. Couple concerns, we always talk about it. When you limit parking, then you limit parking for graduations, everything like that. Now, again, it's good that the request is only one side of the road. That still gives you another side of the road that people can use for parking. The other thing too, to be aware of, if you just do South Lane, sometimes then people start moving to the next street because it's not that far. So don't be surprised if you do this. Meadow Drive is not that far away and people might start parking there as well. Again, summertime, more people are enjoying sitting outside, enjoying the bars. And with a little bit of the construction work on it right now, there's a couple parking spots that are eaten up. So I believe the two residents on the north side are the ones that approached Alderperson Decker, and he brought it in and they requested, again, no parking at any time just along the north side.
I was out there over the weekend, and I know on the south side of the road, it's all rock. There was a concrete truck parked in the lot. They were working in the back, so I think some of the Haskell's parking issues are created by the construction they have there. I'm not a big sign person. I'm really not in favor of a no parking sign in an area where there is parking legitimately on the south side of the street.
are you both working, Sean?
Certainly.
Yeah, I'm John Drover, and I live right across the street from Danny Haskell's and that. It's not just a construction issue now. And that, in fact, they're ripping up my lawn and it's good news that Danny Haskell's business is growing. I mean, he's got over the last, and there's more activities that he has. He has a horseshoes on Thursday nights. They're parked on both sides of the streets. He's now setting up an entertainment garage, which is going to be more activity in that. Thursday, Friday, Saturdays, it's terrible there. I have people parking on my lawn, all four wheels in my yard. I had one guy laid 5 inches deep, a rut 60 feet long on my driveway. There's times when the apron that they parked on the concrete, on my driveway, I can't get into my driveway. I've had to go into the tavern and talk to either Jackie or get someone else to find out who the person is so they can move the car and that. Not this last week, the week before that, a guy parked a Glastron boat, a trailer and that, left big ruts. It's still in my yard. And I have trouble mowing in that. I had to sit out there, and Danny's watched me go out in my yard and that with a shovel, a rake, and a big tamper trying to get down ruts because you want to, it seems, I hate to say it, Muskego is a redneck city. 3/4 of people have trucks, especially by these bars and that. Now, where I'm living in that Danny Haskell's and it's a residential area. It's not a country. It's not within a city. And it's with the noise level, it's going to go up, everything else, the activity, and there's more activity in there now. And when I've had people park it's packed. I mean, both sides are packed. And if you go on the Danny Haskell side, the rocks that aren't just by the construction, it's where he's taken rocks because they've done divots and ditches in there. He's just simply filled them up, the ruts in that. I can't do that on my side. But when I got a guy that's laid 60 feet, they think it's funny. The guy laughs at me. I had a guy tell me to go F myself. All four wheels on my grass. All four wheels. And like I said, we're just asking for it on our side. I told Danny, good news, bad news. I mean, it's unsightly to look across the street and see what he's done. But I can control and let him tear up his grass. He's got a huge lot over there. Let him park. He could put 50 cars in that lot, that lawn he's got. I'm suffering from heart failure. And I'm out there trying to mow my lawn. And the other day, trying to mow my lawn, and I'm going through a rut with a lawnmower, almost twisting my ankle. It's terrible what they do out there, and it's getting worse. So to say you're not in favor of it, you don't live in a block like that. Go out there, go by Danny Haskell's and take a look at what's happening there. I had not this last Thursday, Thursday before. Guy comes out and thank God that they didn't have a horseshoe thing because it rained. But a guy in a big truck parks on my side of the yard. Didn't have four wheels, he had three wheels because he had one was on the driver's side. Instead of parking on Danny's side, he parks on my side, so it's easier for him just to get out and walk across the street. But Dennis was there, he saw it. He saw the aftermath because I called Alderman Decker and I said, come here and take a look at this. He saw the rut in there. And I'm dealing with that. And it's easy for you to say, you're not in favor of it. Come out there and deal with it, especially if you're 76 years old and that, it's terrible. I mean, it's unattainable and it's one side, it's the ruts there because of construction. The ruts are that are all the time. And it's not just during the summer. Even during the winter, he's got activity going on all during the year. When the ground's frozen, but the minute that ground thaws, I got problems in there. So like this year, February, March, April, and May so far. And I'll have it through until the snow's up there and the city puts a drift from plowing the snow off the road. I'll have people park in my yard the whole time, and that's not right. You know, it's one section, that's all we're asking for, you know, and I'm asking for your help,
All right, thank you for your comments.
okay? You know, but if, like I said, a guy telling me to go F myself, and another guy telling me that's 50 feet is with the city property, and they can park there. That would put them right up to my window, you know? And I'm laughing, but it's not funny, you know?
Now, do you have a ditch that runs in front of your home? Is it?
And once the other side of the garage, yeah. I had a guy, he had to be towed out there one year, because he parked, you know, and again, I'm a mower, I'm trying to mow, like now, when the guy parked the boat, it was on that side of the driveway. So I'm mowing the lawn, and all of a sudden I'm stepping the mower, and that is, I got grass where the ditch was, it's that high, and outside of it, it's like this, because you can't mow the lawn. That's where the guy parked the boat. A big glass drum boat. I mean, I had a glass drum. That boat weighed, I mean, there was a trailer and everything else. That boat trailer itself weighed 5,000 pounds. And you put that on a wet lawn or a semi-wet lawn, you got a problem. And that's what they do. And this isn't a guy that's going, he's going there to drink. He's not parking his trailer and that because he's launching his boat or trying to dock his boat. He's going there to drink. And that's the problem. These people come out liquored, and they come back out there, and they seem like the guy with that rod. Let's see how far I get. You know, he puts it in gear, and he floors the truck to get the hell out of there. Instead of going down the road, he goes straight until he gets to where my driveway is and pulls out. So help me, please.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Chris Colby. I live on South Lane as well. Couple points I think that maybe are a little bit different. Number one, it is a venue that does attract a lot of parking, and there's not a lot of cars that you can park on Landon Road, so they all spew off onto South Lane. And if you've been there, when you park on both sides of the road from a safety standpoint, you can barely get one car through. Many times I can't get out of my driveway if I'm in my driveway because of the way it's parked. There's just not broad enough distance. And it'd be different if it only happened, once in a while, but over the last probably 4 or 5 years, his business is doing well in the summer and in the winter. In the winter, he has a lot of different fundraisers, and he has a lot of, and good, it's all good. But it does create this safety issue, and there's a lot of people walking down the street, and it's very difficult to see on both sides of the road. So from my perspective, from a safety concern, again, just because of the proximity, and where it is, there isn't a lot of parking that other people can go, and he doesn't have the parking capacity right now. And the crowds are getting bigger, so that would be my recommendation.
Great, thank you. Other comments that are fresh, new comments?
Yeah, Alderperson Decker. I spoke with Danny on Thursday, I believe it was, and he himself was on board with putting a parking restriction on the north side of South Drive. So I'm surprised he's not here, because he indicated he was going to come, but he himself would be supportive of this parking restriction.
Okay, thank you. Comments from the committee?
I don't have a problem with doing it on the one side of the road, the north side.
I don't have a problem with it.
Make a motion.
Okay, make a motion to approve the request for no parking for the north side of South Lane,
I'll second.
north side of the street.
Motion's made in second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Question for you though, when he was staffing, if it takes.
So,
Before you leave today, no.
here's how it works. We'll get this on the next common council, because the whole common council needs to vote on it and then get a resolution. And the reason why is, once that's done, then the chief is able to write tickets. So we have to have a resolution so that we can get those signs in, so that we can then able to write tickets. We do a locate. We'll probably looks like, I look like I'd probably maybe do 3 to 4 signs just for the north side there. But we have to do locations just to make sure we get the signs made up. So the next council is early June. So I'll try to get it on for sure, the common council meeting for that. And then if the whole common council votes on it, it moves forward with the resolution and continues on.
I put my question, is we look at 60 days, am I looking at all summer, having to,
No, we should, once the council gets the second week in June, then I can put the signs. It just takes a little while for locate. It takes about 7 days for location so that we don't hit anything. We don't want to hit anything in the ground.
once it's done relatively quick?
Correct.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Next. Next item, discussion of safety concerns along Woods Road.
Okay.
We have a lot of people here for this tonight.
Okay. So I'm going to give you, we've had a variety of requests for Woods Road, and it's not just the people here. Just from everything from a path along Woods Road, which we talked about. We had some flashing signs that we put in last year that got stolen and that we have never gotten back. We've had requests for rumble strips. We've had a request for additional police present. We have requests from additional stop signs. And this is from Janesville all the way to the city of Muskego limits. We've also had some requests. I had one request on the far east side about a year ago about slowing down the road to about 30 over there. I had another report that we just got, the chief and I, that the intersection of Woods Road and Test Corners really backs up during certain traffic. So that's kind of like the opposite of what's happening. What Woods Road though is, it's 35 miles an hour all the way. It's an artillery road. What that we define that is, and there I gave a little description is, in freeways and standard is, it's a way. It's kind of like Janesville Road where it connects a lot of things. So the idea is to move traffic. It is designed to move traffic. The other thing too is, it's pretty open. When you're driving along there, it's wide open. People, I know it's 35. People tend to speed a little bit more because they can see a little bit more. It is a thing with the road because the road is wide. But remember, it's our only, besides Janesville Road, it's the only other road that goes really east or west unless you start going below the lake. So anything that the committee decides, be prepared that there's only so many access points that we have and so many major roads with 35 miles an hour in the city. The lakes cause a lot of problems where we just don't make it easy to get around. The other thing too is, it's good for most of it. We do have a path along that road and it is separated, so that does help out as well. The roundabout there at Woods and Moreland does make traffic flow rather quickly around there compared to the other places. We put some additional signs. I believe a student got hit like 3 or 4 years ago. We put some additional signs, a flashing one for a pedestrian right there for who a person was making a left turn heading west and the sun came in their eyes and they could not see, and then left turn they hit one of the students there. Also remember, every time you put up something, there's many ways to mitigate, different concerns. Some of those concerns have other ramifications. For example, I think we had a person who requested rumble strips. Well, that might be good until all of a sudden you hear tick, 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 tick every night, and that might cause another person to have issues. Or if we put a stop sign on Woods Road in the middle, then we're kind of reducing that kind of flow of traffic back and forth. So again, why I'm trying to give you a big discussion is, and the chief and even Sartorius could give me those, we've just had a plethora in the last 3 weeks of different requests all over the place. And also the police did if you show the picture that I have of just the Woods Road, you can see how it goes all the way from Janesville Road, and I did it and it goes all the way. So it's a fairly long length of a road. The other thing too is the police worked with GIS and we created like, in the last 5 years, they had 84 accidents along the corridor. We blew up some areas where we had more concerns. They labeled them. Also, please be aware, OWIs. I don't care what the speed limit is. I don't care how safe it is. A person with OWI, it's kind of like an anomaly. We can't make a road that safe for anyone with an OWI. That's an impairment. But this gives you an idea of where you see some of the accidents, where you see some of them, and why. And again, the speed limit along the whole thing is 35, and that is one of the major corridors that is used throughout the city to go east and west. Chief, you have any other points?
Yeah, along those same lines, just to give you some data. You can see on this slide here, it talks about the Woods West End. We looked at the traffic crashes that are documented at the police department for the past 5 years, 4 of which are OWI related, where they did leave the road, and it does have it's an impairment issue. 1 left the roadway because they fell asleep. A motorcycle failed to maintain control while going through, and then we have 2 hit and run mailboxes, with that specific thing. I'd like to just direct your attention to some of the speed studies. Jeff, if you'd like to pass those out and see if everybody's gotten them. If I could walk you, the committee, through this specifically, if you look at page 1. Jeff mentioned it before, and hopefully I do a decent job of explaining. We try to pay attention to the statistics in the 85th percentile of where we are with traffic. If you look at page 1, that's incoming, and that's actually from a 2023 study that we did from April to May. And that's incoming, and it shows an average speed of 37.3, with the 85th percentile being at the 42 mark. What people automatically jump to sometimes is the outliers, and they're going to look at that and go, see, somebody was at 71 miles an hour at 11:51. I want to caution you on the outliers for this specific reason. Sometimes our data collection gets a little wonky when you're dealing with box trucks, Amazon, or, quite frankly, a police department vehicle that's going through there, an emergency code. If you flip to page 2, that's the outgoing at Woods and Bending Bray. And that is a traffic report from 2023, which again shows 36.4 miles an hour is your average, with 41 miles an hour being in the 85th percentile. But now I want to bring you to the most recent on page 3. And this is a traffic report from April, about 12 days from April 12th through April 24th in preparation for this meeting. The average speed is 37 miles an hour, with the 85th percentile at 42. And if you continue again at the outgoing at Woods and Bending Bray, of where we're putting our speed collection data, 85th percentile is 41 miles an hour, with an average speed of 36.7 miles an hour. And I also want to point to you, and Scott, you're absolutely right. We have to do a better job of trying to get to these enforcement. We're aware that speeding occurs. Speeding occurs, unfortunately, on every city street in Muskego. This past 2 weeks, I've received complaints on Bay Lane, Woods, Parkland, Prospect, and Hardkey, as far as trying to make sure that we can document. Woods and Parkland, if you pay attention, that's a little bit more open, and you can see that the 85th percentile is pushing to that upper limit of that 43 miles an hour, with the average speed being 40 miles an hour. And you can see that, and that makes sense logically if you're paying attention to how Woods and Parkland is a little bit more straight as opposed to the curve. And that's basically the last 2, as you can see, the outgoing and the incoming from 2024 and Woods and Parkland. So I just wanted to give you some of the data that when we do these studies, it's not, we want to take a look at it. We have to make sure that we're using statistical analysis. Yes, I've heard somebody say it before. I don't want to wait until somebody gets hurt either. That's absolutely horrifying. And I've witnessed crashes vicinity near the high school. I've seen crashes at the curve. I've seen Sylvia, and she's hit me up at football games and all kinds of things. And I want to be proactive in being able to understand where we're going to get. But I also need to use the data to kind of give it back to you and just have understanding of where that needs to be. Hopefully that gives you some more solid data to make your decisions of whatever you choose to do.
How consistent is the number of incidents with a road with this kind of traffic on it?
Could you rephrase the question?
Unfair question. Are the number of accidents disproportional on this road to the amount of traffic?
Again, if you go over the last 5 years, we all know that Muskego is growing. Every time you put a new subdivision, that's numerous cars that are in there. I don't want to defer necessarily of like where we have the most traffic crashes, but we try to pay attention to the officers of where we're putting specific speed enforcement so that it ties back to crash data. Obviously 9 in 5 years isn't overly statistically significant, you know, and it's also, we want to pay attention to where do we have those PI or personal injury crashes to make sure that some people are getting hurt. By nature, it is a curved road. So it's going to, and you can see that of the 9 crashes, about 5 of them have left the roadway, 1 being falling asleep, and then again, 4 OWIs. I don't know if it's a speed specific concern or, I don't know. Hopefully I'm doing a decent job of answering your question.
Yeah.
Alderman,
Okay.
if I may,
Yes.
I was on this.
Nope.
If I may, because I've been in my position now, I'm starting my second 4-year term essentially, but from 2019 to 2023, conducting these types of studies and then just getting back into this now, like I said, this always picks up, speeding issues always pick up between sometimes the end of February, we had an extremely warm February, then looking at March, April, and then as June progresses, I'm honestly surprised that this number is not larger. The fact that we've had 84, and again, I'm not trying to minimize this in any way, shape, or form, because obviously the goal is to have 0, even though that's unrealistic. I'm just saying that's obviously we don't want to have any accidents, but I'm surprised that it's not more. The fact that we've had 84 over the last 5 years, I think that's a relatively low number to try and, I guess, add upon what Chief already said.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Other comments from the committee? I know I've been approached to have a stop sign on the road, Parkland. Nobody wants a stop sign in front of their property because when motorcycles and trucks and cars take off, they make a whole lot of noise. So doesn't seem to be a solution as far as I'm concerned.
There's some people here that wanted to speak from Woods here in my district. So if you guys.
Absolutely. The spokesperson for the area. There we go. All right.
I'm the spokesperson for our area, yes.
Give us your name and address, please.
My name is Brent Wolf. I live West 200, South 8613, right on the curve there. I've been there about 10 years. We've owned the property. In that time, my mailbox has been taken out 4 times. All of ours, multiple times. I wrote down a bunch of stuff, but a lot of it's already been discussed. Our big thing is we need to do something with the curve. Leaving it the way it is right now isn't working. The simplest thing would be maybe even something as simple as painting the road with some indication that there's a curve. Some more signage up the road, curve ahead. We did have the flashing signs that were stolen. Those seem to help a little bit. Some simple things like that. Ultimately, the pathway would be nice, but it sounds like there is just no budget to put it in.
I'd just like to comment 1 second. I didn't mean to interrupt you. No. Scott and the Department of Public Works have approved they're kind of helping me out with the signage. We're going to put up one of those permanent signs in this specific area with the flashing that is twofold. It collects data as like real-time data that Officer Sartorius can use, and then it also is one of those that you can put permanently with the solar, and then we can kind of flip it on occasion to get different directions. Why I like that specific sign is I caught myself speeding going to football practice. When I was going, and I was like, I didn't realize because you kind of pick up speed going down the hill.
Well, the part is too is when you're going southbound, you come over that hill, you can't see what's on the other side of the hill. Now with Amazon, there's always trucks parked on the side of the road, or there's a lot of landscapers too. So you're coming over that hill, you got to try to slow down to go around. I understand that they want everybody to go through the subdivision to get to the trail. Nobody does that. Everybody walks on the road, they walk their dogs, they ride their bikes. The high school kids, when they're doing their running, they're always on Woods Road.
Well, Chief, where is that sign going to be located?
Jeff's going to be the one and he just stepped out, is going to be the one where he's specifically going to point it. Because we also work with Scott to make sure that thing's not flashing in somebody's window.
It was right around the entrance to Plum Creek.
Yeah.
Is where
Bending Bray is?
No.
Or the other one, or the other one.
entrance.
Okay. Oh, the main entrance.
And it seems to be the most problem is people coming from the north.
Okay.
We've had almost no issues with people coming from the east. around the curve, it's mostly coming from the north because it's a much sharper turn around the curve. And my mailbox is the beginning of the curve.
And I will, just as a caveat about all your mailboxes, when I'm talking about these are traffic crashes that are documented in our system.
Yes.
I'm not trying to negate of like,
No, no.
I have 5 of these. It may have not been reported through our system. So these are the ones, I'm not negating the fact that, yes, it probably happened, but it's the traffic report that ends up with the MV.
And, we're just concerned that somebody's going to get seriously hurt one of these times. We've had Flight for Life on one of them, an ambulance on the other one, the motorcycle was also the other one. So just a lot of incidents going on the curve.
Before that, I know when you're coming south on Woods Road, there is a sign that warns people of a bus pickup
Yes.
area. There's a curve sign prior to that, isn't there?
I am not
I think still be.
I don't think it's there anymore.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. And I know on the east side of Racine Avenue, going east on where the bend is, there's signage there as well, and there's been accidents there as well. So bends in the road are treacherous things.
Yeah, and we have the huge ditch too, so if a car gets anyway, they're right off the road. So.
Sure.
Yeah, that was my cars.
Yeah.
That's for those funds, not mine.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Jerry Jalisco. I'm his neighbor. I also live on W200 S8617 Woods Road, right next to him.
You guys.
We had the discussion, or you had the discussion earlier about the expense of the pathway going through. And I understand from a budgetary standpoint, those take longer planning. But I also recognize that if you look at the map, that's where, and as the chief said, that's where whether or not they're OUI or some other reason, as long as you've got a steep ditch on the side, that's where you're going to have accidents, whether you're intoxicated or whether you're tired or whatever. Ultimately, that would probably be a great longer term fix, just to prevent somebody from being killed there, because they've hit our culvert a couple of times and were airborne and ended up in the woods, their vehicle. I have another home in Florida, and also not too far from our curve, and that's been hit multiple times. They went in and they put additional painting on the roads. I know it sounds trivial, but they use a reflective type paint that's very bright, especially at night, because a lot of the accidents tend to happen in the evening. They'll paint the yellow line in the middle, white lines on the perimeter that are also very reflective, and then embedded into those lines are reflectors, yellow in the middle as you'd expect, white on the side that you're on, the other side they're red when you see them reflecting the other way. I don't know how they hold up north with plows, but down there I can tell you that it makes a huge difference when you're driving on that road. Yes, they put signage in and other things, but more so than anything else, it's extremely prominent when you're driving. And a lot of people on this road, just like our road in Florida is the same way. When you're coming down, if there's no other vehicles there, they'll turn the brights on, and it's extremely brilliant how you can see the pathway of the road. So I'm just suggesting that as another alternative that we look at. We need to do something before somebody's seriously hurt. I mean, mailboxes are one thing, they're a pain in the butt to have to replace, but somebody's going to get seriously injured there. And it is also really unsafe for pedestrians and the bike traffickers that are on that road, which are plentiful as well. And that's why I'm saying ultimately, I think putting some sort of pathway in there, because it is used a lot, would be a longer term fix, because you could eliminate that drop for the culvert where somebody's not going to seriously hurt themselves if they veer off the road. So the loss of property is one thing, but I think the safety of the pedestrians and the vehicular traffic on that road could be mitigated significantly if there wasn't a means for them to go down into the ditch and hit a culvert and flip their car.
Thank you. Comments, solutions?
Hello, I'm Carol Jalisco,
I love.
We're together. Some of the time. So we live with where we live, we share a driveway with our neighbors or behind us. And today, just an example of what has gone on, they were coming out of the driveway. I was coming around from the north and I could see them coming out. So I had to stop by the entrance of Plum Creek, just beyond the entrance, and put on my blinker and keep looking in my mirror because anyone coming up would have hit me if I would have gone 50 feet farther. No one would have seen me. I would have been blind, and they were also hidden. So we could have gotten hit. So I had to sit there, put on my flashers, put on my blinker, just to get into a driveway on the street in front of our house. That's how unsafe it is. A truck did come behind me. It was flashing its lights at me because it didn't like that I was sitting with the flasher ready to turn. And you know what he did? Passed me. He could have hit them because they were taking a left. I was going straight. They were coming out left. The truck was coming behind me. They could have hit it. They couldn't see because there's also a hill. So I'm just saying that intersection is designed incorrectly. You may have said that it was just paved or whatever, when it was originally put in, but based on the elevation change, based on the radius of the curve, based on the fact that there's no shoulder, none whatsoever. You can't even walk a dog on the shoulder. You have a ditch and we have culverts. People are hitting them and going airborne. We have, Scott, is it?
Yeah.
How many times did you say that people have asked about things in this corner over the last year as you were listing at the beginning of your introduction?
It was mostly just in the last couple of weeks, and not just your whole area. I'm just saying the whole corridor.
Okay, I'm just saying, I know it's been years, but it's been years. And what I'm saying is that what has been done, what proactively has been done, other than us as neighbors coming forward and asking for a solution, and then getting text messages and communication back, well, we have to do this, we have to do that. Well, we can't do anything until more investigations happen, when there's obviously investigations have gone on. But I don't know who's supposed to solve it and who's going to run the solving. It's obviously, we're not getting anything quickly from the city. We just this can get put off.
Well, we're looking
or this can't be afforded.
That's why we're here this evening. We're looking for solutions to the problem. And speed doesn't seem to be the solution.
Speeding? I'm sorry, speeding?
Speed, according to the speed studies, it doesn't seem to be the major issue. So we're trying to listen to you to come up with a solution to this problem.
Okay, so this isn't the first time though. Where's the responsibility on the city side to find a resolution to this before someone does get killed? Because I'm taking my life in my own hands just going to the mailbox. Every day I go to the mailbox and I do that. In fact, usually you see someone else and another neighbor will be looking like, okay, you can go. Is that what we have to do? I don't know.
Again, we're
trying to be proactive, but we do not want to be dismissed. We do not want to be prolonged and have this take a year or 2 years.
That's why we're here this evening.
Okay, great. We also.
So can I just ask, what are you asking for that's going to help you get your mail? I'm confused.
I'm saying that the speed of the cars and the way that people are not slowing down for the curve. I mean, the 85 percentile is at 41 or 42 miles per hour, 6 or 7 miles over the speed limit on the curve is dangerous. We need to decrease that. We need to bring awareness of that, and we need to have a solution that comes quickly rather than 3 months down the road after investigation. Again, since this has been coming up, as Scott said, for years on Woods Road, but nothing's happened. I don't see us getting a response from the city.
Well, but we're looking at this study right now, and the study doesn't say that speeding's an issue. So
6 or 7 miles over at 85% of the time.
So if we lower the speed, what speed limit are you asking? What are you asking for?
I'm not asking for lowering the speed. Okay. I'm asking you to control the speed on the curve. And controlling the speed on the curve can be done without a speed limit. That can be done with the design of the road. And some of the things have been said there. More signage,
well, they just talked about
reflective paint, any kind of.
They did just
maybe
talk.
You have a build a shoulder for the road and have like you have on a highway. If somebody's going off the road, they hit those little things only when they go off the road. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I actually did talk to Officer Sartorius about putting something like that in. But it looks like the information that I'm getting from the police department and what we kind of heard here tonight is it's really drunk drivers that are the culprits. And even if you have those bumps, I mean, how is that? I mean, they're drunk. You know what I mean? It doesn't seem to be regular everyday accidents. It seems to be.
It's not just accidents. It's regular everyday excessive speeding. I live 9 years across the street from Brent. We share the same post for our mailboxes. I've lost at least 3 mailboxes in 9 years. I have to go out in the daytime, broad daytime, to check my mail because it's that risky to cross the street to check my mail. Now, you talk about a path, it's too expensive. I can't see us spending this money. We're supposed to walk through the subdivision. I'm part of that subdivision, but I have to walk on the road to get into the subdivision to walk my dogs. And it's taking my life in my hands. My son went to Muskego High School, rode his bicycle to school. Dangerous every day. He can tell you.
Well, yeah, not only my bicycle, but I ride a motorcycle. And coming out of our driveway, that sharp curve, I don't know if any of you ride a motorcycle, but it's kind of a slow start. You have to make sure that you're in the clutch and the engaging gear. And sometimes, oh, I killed it. Well, if there's a car coming, they can't see. And like when you go onto an expressway, sure, the expressway is like 60 miles an hour, but on the on-ramp, it's not that fast. And then when you exit the expressway, it's also a lot lower speed. So the curb should probably be a lower speed than the rest of Woods Road. That's one idea. Like the curve specifically could be 25 miles an hour, but the rest of Woods Road can be 35.
I can also say that I leave for work by 6:30 every morning, and multiple times a week, I have to look to my left to make sure I can pull out, and multiple times I either have to gun it and go because as soon as I look and see there's no car and I'm starting to go, here comes a car. That fast. I either that or I have to slam on my brakes so I don't get hit because they're coming around the turn that fast at 6:30 in the morning. I mean, come on. And then the bus kids come out to get on the bus by 7 and the people don't slow down. I don't care about how many accidents, and geez, that's not a lot of accidents for, you don't know what we experience every day living there. It's bad. It's taking your life in your hands just to walk your dog into the subdivision so that you can walk them safely. I mean, come on.
Well, I honestly have no objection to lowering the speed limit for the curb there.
Well, at least the curve should be 25, at least. I mean, every other sharp curve you drive around, S-curves through
Like the Kettle Moraine.
they're all slower speeds because it's dangerous to drive that fast around there. And I hear you say that this is an arterial street, but it's also a residential street. We live there.
Yes.
And we pay taxes and we vote.
All right, Chief, any comments relative to slowdowns on curves in your experience?
You can put signs. We ultimately need to enforce it. Any way you slice it. So
have a sign or something, blinking sign out snow light. There's this thing called air tag. You trucks, guys.
We looked at the second time. It wasn't just those signs. Plum Creek subdivision lost a ton of signage at the same time when people decided to steal it. Again, mitigating. So I'll give you my thoughts of mitigation of it. Simple one to start with. We look at trees in the right of way. So if there's trees in the right of way for like people coming in and out of the places, you can't see ahead. If I'm taking the curve and I can't see the car because there's a tree in the right of way, it makes it harder for a person to both see. It's called, sight of line. Is it with hills? I know there's a little hill on Woods Road that's got that little hill there that makes it a little tough there. If the road would ever be reconstructed, you could shave that down. But trees. So if we could come in and we clear cut a lot of the trees along the right of way, probably more safer. But I also get where people then don't like their trees to be cut. So it's always a double-edged sword with everything. Again, let me finish for everything. The other thing too, if you wanted to make the speed limit down to 30 or 25, my recommendation is do it from Janesville all the way to Racine. You don't want to just do it on the curve. It doesn't serve a purpose. You want to do it for everything. What that would do is then basically try to get people to use the main roads of Racine and Janesville instead of using Woods as a cut through. The idea of painting, it's a little tougher up here in the north. Salt, every 2 years we'd be out there. It wouldn't do the benefit of what you were saying. It down in the south works great with everything. The flashing signs, we got that. Once we got that up, it worked pretty good. I feel like it worked great. The problem is people stole it. They thought it was fun because of the solar power. Hopefully we're going to have better ways to mitigate that and put it into a couple places. And if we can get it back out there, I think that would help a lot. The other thing too, if you're worried about culvert pipes, I want to let you know. So the path that I said was still keeping a ditch between the path and the road. If you want to start doing the path and do curb and gutter and storm sewer, you might as well triple that price of that path right there. But those are some of those simple mitigation methods that you can use to do it. I think it comes down to the committee. I mean, if you change that speed limit of that road, you're definitely going to get a different feel of that road, and just everyone on there. So I just, I'm giving you my 2 cents of it.
If you're going to do it, at least if you're going to do it or have a good discussion, to do it just for the curve, I don't know if that makes a lot of sense.
No, I would do it for the whole roadway. I wouldn't suggest just doing for the curve because you'd be going fast, and by the time you would slow down, it wouldn't make any sense.
And conversely, you're going to get complaints the opposite as well.
Correct.
Just like when we did test corners.
Yep.
Like it's too slow.
Yep.
Since then.
Mr. Mayor.
I encourage us to look at all solutions for trying to do some traffic calming. The speed limit lowering is the least effective thing you can put out there. For one, if people are already not following the sign at 35 miles an hour, those same people aren't going to follow the speed limit at 30 miles an hour. And our case in point, where we did this on Illendale a couple of years ago, we lowered the speed limit from 30 to 35. And I guarantee you, if you looked at our data out there, that speed has not changed in that road one bit. So it's a feel-good solution. The people that obey the law are obeying the law, and the people that don't. So I suggest all different types of solutions. We could look at maybe even a guardrail for a safety standpoint. We could look at, they have those reflective chevrons that as you're coming around curves that make it more effective. There's lots of things we could look at, but I urge you, the speed limit thing is just a feel-good, and it's not going to make any difference.
Thank you.
Well, and my 2 cents on that, though, is if you lower the speed limit and you enforce it, people eventually get the picture that they don't want to speed there because they get tickets and, so potentially, I live in a little subdivision. I live in Lake Forest, and the speed limit in my subdivision is 25. And I always feel like people are going too fast, and it's only 25. So, but again, that'd be something where you'd all have to get a consensus, everyone on that street there, and law enforcement would have to enforce it for a good time to get the picture through to people that we're going slow here on Woods. Would that give you a comfort level? Because if somebody's drunk driving still at 25, they're still probably not going to be able to stay on the road.
Could we periodically put in I don't know if they look like a small trailer that has a sign on it that says your speed limit, it's got a camera on it, it takes pictures, and you get a ticket in the mail? We can't do enforcement by photo in Wisconsin.
Very good. But we're getting those signs installed, right? A speed sign?
Yes.
I know there is, at least, is there two or one that's getting,
Whatever you had before, you're getting back.
And when?
Do we have one over at the Department of Public Works currently?
You were the one ordering it. Yeah.
I thought we might have already had one at the Department of Public Works, but ultimately, whatever you have, we're getting back. And I'd like to say, right 20th of May, I would say hopefully before the middle of June.
And what can we do for it so they don't get stolen again? Is there a tracking device you can put in them?
We rather than see.
I mean, but there's something here in you, right?
Just mitigate.
Okay.
Sure. So where would those signs be located? And these would be permanent signs, am I correct?
Correct, yes. We have two different types. The ones that are battery operated and the ones that are connected to the solar panel. The ones that are connected to the solar panel are usually more permanent. I say usually because we currently have two further on down eastward on Woods Road that we have moved periodically. It just takes a little bit more time. And typically the Department of Public Works will take care of moving those signs as opposed to the ones that are battery operated. I can go out. The problem with the battery operated ones, they last about 2 weeks. And that's, I mean, we have to replace the batteries every so often. It's about $600 of the batteries per sign. But yes, correct me if I'm wrong, but the speed limit sign, because again, I haven't been monitoring or taking care of these for the past year, but where the flashing speed limit sign was previous on Woods was for southbound traffic right before the curve, correct? For both directions. So as you're coming out, and then I believe the other sign was just north of the entrance going into Benning Bray for Plum Creek. Okay, so yes, there will be signs on both sides. Like I said, north of the entrance to the subdivision heading northbound, and then just before the curve for southbound heading traffic.
Okay.
Okay.
Are there any visual issues with driveways in the area? That's what Scott brought up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can look and take trees down within the right of way.
It wasn't a tree,
And we can, and that one's going to be a little harder to fix, because that's a road reconstruction of looking at it, even if you're shaving it down. But we can take a look at impairments, but then you start like, okay, I can come back and say, here's a capital cost. It's going to cost a little bit to shave that road down. And when I say shave, it's mostly cut two huge sections out, look how far back we have to go, and, pretty much reconstruct that road from a big, portion of the road. And those things you're now talking at least six figures, to do that. Beam guard costs money. And also sometimes beam guard doesn't look real well. I mean, we can say that we can have beam guard, and all beam guard's gonna do is stop the person from like rolling off the road into the curb and gutter. So, yeah, but again, you don't understand, like, for everything that is, some people like the beam guard, some people don't like the beam guard of how it looks. But those are other things that we can look at. It costs a lot of money for some of these mitigation purposes that we're looking at. So, at least just for the Woods curve.
Can you recommend to us right now what you think would be the best solution?
I gave you a variety of tools in the toolbox that we can look at. I think the signage, when it was flashing, it was working. I would like to see if it worked more before they stole it. I think too, maybe shaving that hill down would give a little bit. If you look where that hill is, it's a little the sight line right there. I think a lot of us have talked about that. I also think too people I think drive faster than when they're supposed to drive, and that's just human nature, I'm afraid. I could put out 50 million signs, I could put a wall out there. It's not going to stop people from speeding. That's every individual. Hopefully with this, we're educating people more on don't speed. That's kind of what it comes down to a lot of times is tell people like, hey, don't speed anymore. Tell your kids, build up that education of why it is. That curve is dangerous. It's a sharper curve of it, But hopefully the flashing signs will make people think twice. Oh, I am doing 35 in the 30, or I'm doing 45 in that thing. And like the chief caught himself, I catch myself too when I do that. I drive through Elm Grove once in a while, and it's like I am doing 35 and then 25. And I hope that those will help out with realization. And those are relatively quick, cheap fixes. I mean, get a couple signs in there, it seems to work.
So the flashing signs had proved to be effective in the recent past, is that?
I think they were doing their job before they got stolen. I have to admit. It was making more people aware of the situation that was going on. I can also check too to see what else we can maybe, looking in the paint thing. It's just, man, our painting, it just wears away so fast up here with snow plowing and the salt. I hate to spend money on that. I think long term, if that road ever needs to get repaired, shaving down that hill would help a lot. Yep.
What Jerry was trying to explain, what we have in Florida, is there's the regular paint on the rest of the roads that's showing the shoulders in the center line. But when you approach that curve, the lines get wider, they get reflective, and then they have the other reflectors in addition, but obviously we understand with plows.
It looked great probably that first year, and then...
But there's other things, but basically what I'm saying, if you can't get people to slow down with a sign, and the flashing sign may help, but frankly, they're very far to the approach of that curve. People forget about it before they get to the curb on both directions.
Yeah, we can look at it some of those.
Okay, so what will help? It's either going to be something that's going to be in their way, something that's going to catch their eye, or that's going to catch their ear. So those seem like the obvious ones. Relying on the police to come from a flashing sign. Now we're not only having a flashing sign that we're paying a lot of money for, but we're also taking their resources away. That doesn't make sense to have that.
Well, the flashing sign.
The flashing sign makes sense, but to have the police come, yeah, the flashing sign, do you know where the flashing signs were? Here? It's here. This right here, how far do you think this sits? Or where the curb shuts?
Yeah. We also got to be aware of making sure that we not, with the flashing sign, also too, there's residents there. We don't want that to be flashing. We're trying to find the best location with also mitigating other
Oh, I understand.
calls,
And I think it's good. I just think that the placement of it was so far away from the actual curve. People were still focusing on the T intersection that they were passing. And then they're coming up the hill, and then they see this, and by the time they start the approach into that curve, it's too much, and they kind of overshot.
Okay.
And that's why we lose our mailboxes. That's why I get notifications from my doorbell at 1 o'clock in the morning that my mailbox is gone again. Okay, that's why. But what I'm saying is that, can't we do something quicker in the meantime, like the paint? Is the paint in 6 figures? Is the reflective paint, can we make it be this visual? You're coming to this curve, we have a sign that says
It would
a
seem to me
curve,
that the flashing lights are visible and are more visible than
the flashing
paint in
light
a road.
sign is a little sign that flashes.
Right.
1,000 feet or something, I don't even know how far it is down
Well,
the road
Bending
behind
Brae
you.
to the roadway is probably, 400 feet? I mean, cars
I don't know what it is, but it's not
If cars
close.
are traveling 37 miles an hour,
At
there seems to be-
42 miles an hour, and then you have to slow down for it. What does that calculate? I'm just saying that I think it needs to be, and I don't know if anyone else, like if we can, how much would it be that way for people could see a difference in the roadway? You know what I mean?
And we can look at, and we'll look at all the things. There's always like new improvements to looking at it. I like to get the flashing signs up right away because I think they did
we
work.
all would, yes.
I think they did work, and when they were, it just, I hate when people, steal things because it's
Exactly, yeah.
it's
And we all really appreciate everything that everyone's been working on, that we see you all come out and the response. It's just that it's heartbreaking to know that we know someone's going to die in our driveway or front of our house. We know it's going to happen. It's a matter of time. It's not if, it's a matter of time. And it could be a drunk driver, but that doesn't matter. It's still a life. And it is going to happen. It may be one of us going to our mailbox. It may be somebody's child chasing their dog in the road. It almost happened to me today before this meeting. Okay? Someone is going to die there. And you're going to have all this information that you've been collecting over the years, and nothing's been done by the city. I was just hoping that we could resolve at least something in this meeting, other than saying it's going to another committee.
I don't think that painting the road is going to save a life. I believe that the flashing signs, if appropriately placed in the proper area, is going to help mitigate that situation. I guess we're looking.
I agree with you. I think you're right. I think the flashing sign is going to help immensely, but I don't think it's enough because we did have it. It didn't help. It got stolen. It had a short period. What was it? 2 weeks that they were up before they were stolen? Something short.
I don't remember. I thought.
Yeah, it didn't have enough time to prove. If you need this time to collect data, but if you change the actual physical appearance of that curve, it will help. If you approach that curve and see that it looks different, it will help.
To reconstruct that road, I mean,
right?
To straighten the road out to any degree.
I don't think,
anything,
and again,
sure.
design standards too, you got to understand, I don't think the design standards for that road would be totally different than when the road was built. The design standards would make it more safe. Looking at horizontal alignments and vertical alignments, that's why. I think where you're looking at, I totally agree. You get the signs up, the flashing signs, I think would help. Those flashing signs never took data, I don't think the original ones did. I think this one might be able to take a little bit more for more data. I think though, if you want to make sure that no one is, killed on a road, the idea of education, it's a big deal now. Telling people, let's not speed, educating them. Hey, in the newsletter, by the way, I know it's great, but we could maybe put a little bit more of be conscious. There's people out there. Let's not do speeding. That I think really would go a long way of not just in your road, but like throughout city of Muskego of like, let's really like pay attention and get off our cell phones and pay attention to the speed and watch where your surroundings are and distracted driving. I have always found in the studies that I read that promotion of that education will be the biggest thing of trying to reduce people's deaths or hitting other people. And we are all at fault. I can probably say that a lot of us have done the texting or taking phone calls and distracted drivers or kids in the back. We all are. And if we can all try to do a better job of that, I think that would go a long way for just trying to eliminate people from dying.
So Scott,
that sounds like good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Would you look into?
Yeah, I can look into a lot of things. I want to get the signs up. I want to,
situation.
I really want to see the signs up for a couple, almost a year before they're stolen, so that we can build some good data on it. I can look at the reflective of. We can start looking at all the tools in the toolbox, and if anyone comes and it's a big cost, I'll have to throw it in the capital and bring it to all these people, and I got a couple months to do that. I'm hoping to try to do it. And if I can keep the cost low, we can do things within our operating budget and kind of move forward. And if they give me a direction to do it.
What about speed?
So let's talk about speed bumps. So speed bumps for plowing it's absolutely awful. And also if for example Harkey Drive, if there were speed bumps there and it's dark out and there's no lights, and if I was driving a motorcycle, I would be very cautious about that, because I think a person with a motorcycle at night and hitting a speed bump would be terrible. The other thing too is our roads are pretty bad. So to put in speed bumps and create another hole where water can get in there, it's just not a method that we go with in the city of Muskego.
Are you taking the speed bumps out of Muskego Drive then?
No, they're there. I'm not going to change a road where it is.
Go on that road too.
Again, that road was done before the common, and I know what you're saying. It's there now. I'm not changing it. I'm just saying that's kind of the method. City of Milwaukee does speed bumps, but their policy is full assessment to the neighbors for installation, design, and construction. And I don't think a lot of you would like to pay for all those costs of it. And they also said they're damaged to their fleet trucks. Every time you have a truck that goes over it, boom, 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 boom. Again, inflation for all those costs have gone up. I'm kind of giving the picture of talking to my counterparts at different places of goods and bads. I think We can look at a variety of tools, and from this discussion, the committee is going to give me some things to look at here, which is good. I really would like to get those signs up there right away. So,
Any other comments on the Woods Road in its entirety?
No, I just want to thank everyone for coming. I know the people on Woods are having a meeting afterwards to talk about things.
Everything like.
Oh, okay, maybe that's postponed. But, and I want to thank Scott too, because he will look at all those tools in the toolbox. And again, I know the mayor is opposed, he didn't like the speed limit thing, but if your whole street would be wanting something like that, I'm gonna help support you, because I want safety for everybody, so. Anyway, let's look at some other things, and Scott will be getting back to us. Anybody else, anything? Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay. Any other business to come before this? Sylvia?
No, and so what's the next step?
The flashing signs are gonna go in. Yeah. The purpose here was to have a discussion relative to the roadway. We seem to focus on one area of the roadway, not the rest of it. But Scott's gonna look into the reflective paint. The police department's gonna put up the flashing signs. Short of reconstructing that entire road, I don't know what can be done. I mean, speed, we've got a speed report. The speed report doesn't conclusively say that that's a major speedway area. The balance of Woods Road has really the same result, even though the speeds are even higher as you go further east on the road. So that was the purpose of this, to have that discussion and bring those things to the attention of the people who can make this happen.
So Scott will have a meeting where are you gonna come at our area?
So what I would do is first, besides getting the signs up, looking at reflective painting, we do it a lot internally. I can then reach out to your alderperson and then kind of give direction to what we would like suggest. I also, besides that, I can work with the chief and write some stuff in the newsletter, or, our monthly newsletter, put stuff on there. Again, doing that work besides doing that, I think it's a big thing of just talking about speed limits and just safety throughout the city. It's always a good topic to have in there. We're always looking for what else can we add to the newsletter. I think this is a legitimate one to bring up and just say, hey, be aware of what's going out there, what we're doing. But my game plan is get the signs up, what we can do, and take a look at it. Then I can reach out to the committee administrator and say, okay, we can make these things work. And if I have to do a more costly or long-term one, I might bring it to a capital discussion, which means I have to have my capital in by July 14th. And then the whole council can vote whether or not you want to do a more expensive, maybe mitigation cost.
Is there anything that you want us to do? Because I truly appreciate that, and Jeff, but
Work through your alderperson on issues, and then they usually pass it on to us. That's how it works for us. It also helps us because I'm the only engineer here, I'm afraid, and we got a lot going on. And if it's directed and funneled through your alderperson, it's just a lot easier for me to kind of disseminate all the information.
Can I also suggest that you do look at the roadways and look for visible obstacles that are in the right of way, that are preventing you from safely coming in and out of your driveways? I know I live on Danoon Road, and we've got boku bushes that we have to deal with.
The school bus, so it's the Russian roulette.
They do not stop for the school buses?
Oh no! And they actually left twist. It's walking, and there's zero help.
Well, again, if you can just kind of take a look and see if there's anything that the city can do to make the visibility a little bit better. I mean, the school bus issue, I don't know how to resolve that.
I will donate it to the city. You can do whatever you need to do.
It's all yours.
Thank you.
No cost.
Most of the stuff is already in the right of way. Just to let you know, we have that area to do work. It's just, again, the way that you're talking, you want to remove the culvert pipes, and then now you're doing curb and gutter, and you're storing storm sewer. And that cost, what I just gave you, that cost did not include any of that. And that would go really, really up a lot. I'm just letting you know.
No, but with me, looking at, and I would love to pay extra to get done.
Anyone else? Yes.
Hi, can you tell me why Garrett Park has
You'll have to step up with the microphone.
Can you tell me why Garth Park has rocks along their driveways, along their roads?
The who? The what? I'm
Garth
sorry.
Park.
She's like,
That's Garth Park by us, right? Oh, Park Arthur, I'm sorry. Park Arthur.
So,
Why do they have stones along the side of theirs? Oh,
okay, so what we do is we have a lot of parking at Park Arthur, and we want to avoid people from parking on our grass in certain areas. So that's why we try to control people to where their parking stalls are, which there is plenty of parking stalls at Park Arthur. And we also want to make sure that's kind of why it was designed. And in certain events, when we have big, busy events, we do allow parking in baseball games because we have 16 tournaments over there. And we allow parking on one side of the road over there at times.
no, tournaments on Wednesdays?
No, our tournaments are on the weekends. Now, again, there might be other games on there. I forget if it's every night there. Yep. Yeah. But again, it's not as bad as a tournament. When there's a tournament there on a weekend, it fills it up without a doubt. That place, and we have 16 tournaments there this year, just to let everyone know.
There's
Park around, but it's they can just bounce. Yeah.
People are more than welcome to park in Park Arthur and then use as many spots as we can. So, yep. That's always been the overflow route. Even for trailers, it's over there as well for the boat launch.
So in order, if it's on my side of the road, in order for me not to let the people park on my side of the street, even though the sign is for the other side, so I have to put rocks.
No, we
up
not
there?
we don't want you to put rocks out there because there's still right of way that's in there, and rocks could also cause a dangerous situation for the public. It was done in the parks, and parks aren't designed for the fact of you're doing 5 to 10 miles an hour. You're not a public roadway.
So I don't think anybody on our street wants parking on either side.
Is there any other information to come before this committee? If so, we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.